Hi everybody, Bob Claster here, and I'm your host for Funny Stuff, half an hour of comedy which airs every Friday night at this time. And the show you're about to hear is the first of 3 shows with Peter Cook. And if you don't know who Peter Cook is one of the great comic minds of his generation. He's one half of Peter Cook and Dudley Moore and 1/4 of Beyond the Fringe and all sorts of things, all of which we will cover in this interview. This is something I've waited a long time for, and it was certainly worth the wait. Peter looks quite a bit heavier and quite a bit grayer than one is used to seeing him, but there is fire in those eyes, and I think it comes across on the tape. To set up what happens at the beginning here, I just said good evening, and just under my breath I said Sir Arthur. I said good evening, Sir Arthur. And there's a character that he does of Sir Arthur Streeb-Greebling, and just saying that was enough to trigger him off into 3 or 4 minutes of Sir Arthur Streeb-Greebling. So before, just in case you're not familiar with that character, before I start, I'll let you hear Sir Arthur Streeb-Greebling from the Broadway play that he did with Dudley Moore called Good Evening, and then the interview with Peter Cook.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm talking tonight to Sir Arthur Greeb-Streebling.
Oh, no, you're not.
And what?
You're not at all. You're talking to Sir Arthur Streeb-Greebling.
Oh,
You're confusing me with Sir Arthur Greeb-Streebling.
I'm so sorry.
Yes, my name is Streeb-Greebling. The T is silent, as in fox.
I'm so sorry. I would like to ask Sir Arthur something about his rather unique restaurant, the Frog and Peach.
Well, this seems like an ideal opportunity, really. What with me being here and you being there.
Well, yes.
Wonderful opportunity.
Yes, indeed.
Seize it.
Certainly will. Well, perhaps you would tell us something about the Frog and Peach, Sir Arthur?
Yes.
How, in fact, did the idea come to you?
The idea for the Frog and Peach came to me in the bath. A lot of things come from in the bath, many mosquitoes, various forms of water snake. But on this occasion, a rather unique and stunning idea. I suddenly thought to myself, where can a young couple with not too much money to spend, feeling a bit hungry, a bit peckish, want something to eat, where can they go and get a really big frog? A really big frog and a damn fine peach. Where can they go?
Yes.
Where can they go? Of course, answer came there none, so on this premise, I founded the restaurant.
On these premises, in fact.
On these precise premises, yes, I founded the Frog and Peach.
How long ago did you start this venture?
Oh, that's a tricky one. Certainly within living memory.
Good.
Believe it was shortly after World War II.
Ah, yes.
You remember that, World War II?
Well, certainly, yes.
Absolutely ghastly business.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely ghastly business.
Yes, indeed, yes.
I was completely against it.
Well, I think we all were.
Yes, well, I wrote a letter.
Yes, getting back to the Frog and Peach.
Yes?
How has business been?
Let me answer that question in 2 parts. Business hasn't been, and there hasn't been any business. These last 35 years have been rather a lean time for us up at the old F&P.
Well, don't you feel you're at a slight disadvantage being stuck out here in the middle of a bog and in the heart of the Yorkshire moors?
I think the word disadvantage is awfully well chosen here, yes. This is what we're at. We're at a disadvantage. Stuck out here in the middle of a bog in the heart of the Yorkshire moors. But I thought at the time, rightly or wrongly, possibly both. The people in this country were crying out for a restaurant without a parking problem. And here, in the middle of a bog, in the heart of the Yorkshire moors, there is no problem parking the car.
No.
Little difficulty extricating it, but the parking here is magnificent.
Yes.
It is magnificent parking.
Yes, indeed.
Wonderful parking.
But don't you feel you're also at a disadvantage with regard to your menu?
Oh, yes. Yes, we are at a tremendous disadvantage with regard to the menu. Have you seen it?
Very briefly.
That's the only way to see it. I mean, the choice is so limited. You have such a limited choice. There's only 2 main dishes to choose from. Now, what are they? Last, I should know this by heart after 35 years. Oh, yes, first of all, there is frog à la pêche. Frog à la pêche is basically a large frog covered in boiling Cointreau with a peach stuck in its mouth. It's one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. The only alternative to frog à la pêche is even worse. Pêche à la frog. Pêche à la frog. A peach is brought to your table by the waiter, again covered in boiling Cointreau.
The waiter?
Very often, yes. Very often the waiter is, alas, covered in boiling Cointreau. But the policy here is to aim the Cointreau at the peach.
Yes.
That's the policy.
Yes.
The peach is then sliced open down the middle to reveal, oh my God, about 300 squiggling black tadpoles. It is the most nauseating sight I have ever seen. It's enough to put you off your food.
Yes.
Which is a damn good thing, considering what the food is like.
Yes. If you don't mind me saying so, it does seem to me as if the whole venture of the Frog and Peach has been a little disastrous.
Oh, I don't think I'd use the word disastrous, yeah?
No?
I think catastrophic will be nearer the mark. The whole thing has been a total failure and a huge catastrophe.
But do you feel you've learned from your mistakes?
Oh, certainly. Certainly. I have learned from my mistakes, and I'm sure I could repeat them exactly.
Thank you, Sir Arthur Green Street.
Street your Where's my seat?
Good evening.
Sir Arthur.
Oh, good evening, yes. Good grieving. Good grief. Good God. Good.
It's always difficult for me when I was...
Have we begun?
No.
No, we haven't. I just noticed the microphone fell out of the stand there. But I imagine that's part of your showbiz. My mother was in show business, of course. She appeared as a little Robin in Babes in the Wood. This is in the 40s.
Not one of the babes.
No, she was a small red-breasted. Well, she was red-breasted in real life, which was we tried to hush up. But she did appear as a small bird, and it had not a big scene really. She just had to fly in onto a little table, and my sister played a little bit of bread. My sister lay on the table. It wasn't very realistic because a bit of bread looks nothing like my sister, and in the original script it was meant to be brown bread, I think, but. In those days, racial prejudice was very strong in the United Kingdom, and so my sister Thelma played some white bread, and my mother played a robin who flew in and pecked up. Anyway, it didn't run this show really, but ever since then it's been in her blood, the showbiz bug.
And you've inherited it.
Yes, I have the same bug. Well, it's a bud that breeds. in the family. This bug's for you, I remember she used to say, whenever I came home from a hard day chopping wood in the conservatory. But we're a tightly knit family, and one of the lovely things about my mother is her absence at the moment. She's not in the room, is she?
I don't see her.
Her absence is one of her most delightful features.
She's mastered that.
She knows she keeps forgetting to be absent, but when she's absent, she's a joy.
Well, here's to her. I was starting to tell you, it's difficult when
it's frightfully difficult. It's awfully difficult. You notice how difficult it is for me to open my mouth, because I've had to train for years. In my early days in show business, for example, I could never do it on cue. The director would say, action, and I was meant to say something, topical, like good evening or, good night, depending on what time of the day it was, or good morning for that matter, because we worked all hours, being a showbiz household, collating press cuttings and sticking them on the walls. But my mouth wouldn't open, and I had to have a mouth operative. My brother Dennis used to do that. He used to poke my mouth open with a stick, which would be my cue to speak. And if you've got a stick in your mouth, it's awfully hard to say good evening. But I can do it now, as you can see. This is probably largely due to the tranquilizing drugs which have fed into me.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Let's
When
let-
I say drugs, I don't mean drugs, not in the sense of drugs, but various Navajo folklore woven into long cigarettes. Herbs, as I believe you call them in this country, yes. When you look in the myrrh, as I believe you call it. We say mirror, and you say myrrh for some reason, which I think is an error, or an as you call it.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, I'm sorry about having to say good evening constantly, but unless I say good evening about once a minute, my whole body seizes up, and I fall to the floor, which, as you see, is quite a long way from this chair, all of, well, I'd say about 2.5 foot. I've never had a head for height, or a bottom for chairs, for that matter, which is why I'm crouched beside you.
Your comedy writing career started well before college.
Well before comedy started, yes.
You had some pieces published in Punch when you were in high school. Is this true?
Yes, I'm back to my normal voice. It sounds so ghastly. I think I should probably revert to being Sir Arthur. Yes, I did. I did have a few things published in Punch when I was at school. It was very nice to see something in print in a national magazine. And it was a big thrill to get a cheque through the post for about 5 guineas or...
Have you read those pieces recently?
No, I haven't. I don't know where they are at all. It may all be totally made up. Perhaps I never wrote for Punch at all, but I think I did.
How did you then you went to Cambridge,
Yes.
and how did you get involved with the Footlights?
Well, I didn't for about a year. I thought it was a terribly grand organisation that you couldn't join. And then I thought, I'll go and see who's in charge of it. There's a guy called Adrian Slade, brother of Julian Slade, who wrote Salad Days. And he was remarkably nice, and he said, well, do you have any pieces? And I had some solo material, which I did. And he said, oh, come on in, join at once. And it was very easy. It took about 3 minutes. It was very nice. I showed off for the next 2 years.
Right about the time your generation started producing Footlight shows, they became something that they hadn't been before.
I suppose round about my time we did a bit more to do with what was actually going on in the world. Not all that much, but a little bit. And up till that time, I don't think there'd ever been any women in the Footlights review. There'd always been men dragging up. And Eleanor Bron was in the first review that I was connected with. It seemed to make sense to have a woman rather than a man there, of course. I like dressing up as a woman as much as the next man.
There were women
dressing
that,
up as a man as much as the next woman. I mean, it's no skin off my nose who dresses up as what.
so the first really different Footlights show was called The Last Laugh.
That's right, directed by John Bird. And that had the theme of nuclear apocalypse, I think it was. It was a cheerful little show.
Now, were you involved in that one?
Involved in the writing, some of the writing of it, and I was in it, performing in it. And the worst part about it, we had to learn to do some dances, if I remember right, a la West Side Story, which was a strain on the gullibility of any audience to see me dancing about as a jet or a shark or whatever they were called.
Now, a very influential figure in that period was a man by the name of John Bird.
That's right, yes.
That most Americans don't know anything about. Who
Well,
is he?
even less after this interview. He's a very good director, good comedy actor, good writer, and I eventually teamed up with him again with a club I had in London called The Establishment, which ran for about 4 years, and he was part of the resident cast there. John Bird, John Fortune, Jeremy Geit, who is now resident in the States and has been for about 20 years, I think, and Eleanor Bron. We specialised in doing sort of topical political stuff at The Establishment, and had a place in New York again for about 4 years. It was at the site of, it used to be the old